Sixers fans, we know why you're here. Your Philadelphia 76ers took down Ben Simmons and the Brooklyn Nets without Tyrese Maxey, without Joel Embiid, without James Harden tonight in a sweet victory at the Wells Fargo Center. We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more on this episode of Planet 76.
Welcome, everybody, to Planet 76, episode 74.
Bingo.
Yeah, yes. So we have some, I guess you could say, exciting Sixers discussion to be had here on this episode. Make sure you guys subscribe. And Sixers this week, when did we record last? Last Sunday, probably, at that point, was the Embiid game.
Right.
So since then, we've had Bucks, we've had... What was that Monday game? Was there a Monday game?
No, not this week. So we played Saturday, Sunday. We went Bucks, Timberwolves, and now...
Was that it?
Bucks, Timberwolves,
and now the
Nets.
Nets.
Remember we had the 4 days off for no reason?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So Bucks, Timberwolves, Nets, in that order. Gonna break down those games and some unfortunate circumstances surrounding those games, to say the least.
Yeah.
So make sure you guys subscribe to the episode, to the podcast. So Troy, did you happen to catch any of the games at all in any capacity? Or?
So, I watched both Milwaukee and the Brooklyn Nets game. Tonight, of course, we're recording the night of the Sixers win against Ben Simmons and the Brooklyn Nets, and that one just felt great. Like you mentioned, some exciting stuff. Obviously, without Joel, without James Harden, without Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, who didn't play the game before, he did play and played well. And then you just have guys stepping up. Obviously, I mean the Nets were, at least star wise, were at full strength. Having Ben, having Kyrie, having KD out there. Most of the role players, from what I could tell, were out there too, and just felt good to get that win. So I think we should start there, man. I think we start and then work our way back. So Sixers win tonight, 115-106, led by Tobias Harris, who we just mentioned, who had 24. DeAnthony Melton 22. I think he had 6 threes. Shake Milton had 16 points. Paul Reed, 19 points, 10 boards, double-double. George Niang, 16 points, I think only in like 18 or 19 minutes tonight. Mm-hmm. And as a team, this was the stat that I said kind of throughout the game that kind of is, helped the Sixers win this game, is they went 16 for 32 from 3, 50%, and the Nets were just 9 for 28, which is, sub 33%. So that was a huge difference. And then Ben in this one had 11, 7 boards, 3 steals, 3 blocks. Pretty typical Ben Simmons game, something that we were used to. 3 for 6 from the free throw line. He did reward us with some Chick-fil-A, or those in the arena, so that was cool to see. It was an enjoyable game to watch. I'll say that. I don't know what you saw. Obviously, the role players stepping up in a big way is huge. But what else?
Yeah, I unfortunately did not watch the game. I had work. I was at work until 3, so I wasn't able to catch the game. But from what I did see, Paul Reed victory tour. Paul Reed fans unite all day. And you mentioned it, but when you shoot 50% from 3 as a team, you're probably going to win, unless the other team is shooting 60%, which very rarely happens. Not even for the Sixers, but for every team in the league, unless you're... I don't even think any team really shoots 60% that frequently. So when you shoot 50% from 3, you're probably going to win. And the Sixers, coincidentally, shot 50% from 3, and they did win. Mm-hmm. And it just seemed like a pretty well-rounded game. Harris had his best game of the season by far. Yeah. Melton was great again. I feel like Melton is a guy who we talk about just as a collective, but we also don't talk about it enough. It's just this weird,
that's fair,
kind of balancing act. I don't know how you feel. I don't know how whoever's listening or watching feels about that, but I feel like he's someone that we don't talk about enough, but we do talk about in some capacity, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's interesting. He, again, 22, he had 6 threes.
Yeah.
He made some very big plays defensively as well. Um, yeah, I think you're right. We could talk about him a lot, and it wouldn't be enough. To put
Yeah.
it that way, he was big. Paul Reed was huge. Montrezl Harrell got the start, but dude, I don't even remember seeing him in the second half. Like that's how much Paul Reed
Yeah.
was out there, and rightfully so. He played very very well. Niang was big. Niang was talkative. He had a little
Mhm.
interaction with Simmons. I don't know if you saw that. He had a little interaction with KD as well.
Okay.
Um,
He likes it. He likes that, and he was doing that a bit last year too. Wasn't it the Nuggets game or the Warriors game? He kind of just threw somebody on the ground, or he pushed somebody. I think it
yeah,
was. It may have been Iguodala with the Warriors, or was somebody maybe with the Nuggets? Maybe it was Jeff Green, something like
yeah.
that. But
He doesn't
he kind of
mind.
just
He
threw
does
somebody
not
on the
mind
ground.
sticking
Yeah,
his nose in there. That's for sure.
yeah, exactly.
Um, but yeah, it was just it
Yeah,
again. It felt good to win that, and I guess that game, and then even some previous games or the calendar that the Sixers are heading into.
yeah,
Given the injuries, given the situation, um, some guys obviously we're going to talk about Paul Reed, Shake Milton, D'Anthony Melton stepping up. What do you think this even does for a team? I mean, Tobias, I don't know if you saw his post game today. He was like, kind of, again, this next man up mentality. We know that we're missing three starters, three guys that are going to give us, you know, roughly 70 points if they're all together on the same team,
yeah,
on a given night.
yeah.
How does this maybe motivate the rest of the guys? Like, I mean, it just feels good to win a game like that against a guy in Ben Simmons like that when you don't have your best players at all.
I mean, yeah, it's. Excuse me. It's gotta be. It's gotta feel good to win a game without three of your starters against a good team. The Nets don't have a great record, but I still think they're a good team. So I think a win like that helps a lot. And you alluded to that next man up kind of mentality. That's something that the Sixers kind of lacked in the past few years when it came to guys getting injured, guys needing to step up. We didn't really see much of that, and a lot of it was probably due to the lack of talent on the roster as a whole. But now the Sixers have that, and they really need to. What's the word I'm looking for? Lean into that
Mm-hmm.
next man up mentality. Harris needs to play the same way he did tonight. Would love some more play from Melton like this. Would love to see Milton play a little better. And if Paul Reed doesn't get the backup center minutes at this point, I don't want to say it would shock me because look who's the coach.
Yeah.
But I would be really disappointed. I mean, I would be very disappointed. Again, I did not watch the game, but what I did see from the stats, 18 points, 10 rebounds. He shot the ball very well. He didn't play the entire game, so he was making an effort in the not limited, but
Right.
shortened amount of time that he did play in. So if he doesn't get the backup center minutes at this point, combined with the fact that Harrell has just been kind of average this season, then I don't know what needs to happen. Because we saw in the playoffs this past year. If that wasn't enough, okay.
Right.
Now he's doing this in the regular season. He's getting the opportunities, and he's proving what he can do on the court. I don't know what else needs to happen at that rate. And I'd like to think this is the wake-up call for Mr.
Yeah.
Glenn Rivers to say, hey, you know what? Paul Reed's pretty good. Let's run him at backup center instead of Harrell, because Harrell's just been average. He's just been okay.
I don't get it with him. Montrezl Harrell's my biggest question mark on the team so far, and it wasn't one that I expected. This is a guy who 2020 was the sixth man of the year with the Clippers. Yeah. This is a man who I don't know, last 6-7 years has been a very elite scorer off the bench, and then so I don't know what it is for him. I don't know if it's the competition that he's in with Paul Reed, where he's not getting solid minutes every night, kind of dealing with that. Because again, even as we mentioned in the last week's episode, the game where he got the most minutes was his best game, so he hasn't had a ton of minutes. But to your point, like to this point, it's Paul Reed's job, and it should be. And that should be clear. That should be evident. That should be Glenn Rivers should know that right now. And that is the hope. Now, obviously, as Sixers fans, we desire for the minutes where Harrell does get in for him to play well. He just hasn't done it. Obviously, he hasn't put up the numbers that he's had in other places, and it's not even close. Montrezl Harrell, again, double-digit scorer, and now he's not doing anything for the Sixers worth noting. So very, very interesting. That's my biggest question mark through, 17 games now. 17 games, positive, though, Sixers are above 500.
For the second time this season.
Right, yeah. I don't even know if we've recorded at a time when they were 500 or above 500, so hopefully it can stay that way.
It was after the Bucks game. They went 8-7, and then they went 8-8 because they lost to the Timberwolves.
Right.
And they went 9-8 because they beat the Nets.
Right, yeah. So hopefully we're here to stay this time.
Yes. Yes.
So why don't you speak to a little bit a guy who's been playing phenomenal lately, and then we'll touch on those other games, but Shake Milton had 22 tonight. Shake Milton had 15 against the Bucks. Shake Milton had 27 in the 3-point loss to the Timberwolves. The two guards ahead of him are out. Anthony Melton's playing well, of course, too, but Shake is just, that's a really good thing to see. Why don't you talk about him and what's allowed for him to be so productive, you think?
I think the opportunity, really, for most guys, it's opportunity because these guys put in the work. They're very talented, but what they're missing is a chance to find their footing again. Because we talked about it on here. Shake was out for a huge chunk of the season last year. Injuries, coronavirus. He was limited, and not to anyone's fault, really, but he was limited. He couldn't do as much as he has done. And we've seen him go for 30-point games before the season before last year. He was great. And that's the player he can be, in my opinion. And we have a large enough sample size now, I think, to see that and to believe that. And here he comes again. 3-4 games in a row. He has great scoring games. Decently efficient, nothing crazy. And he's producing at a high level. And like I said, when he gets the opportunities, when he gets that rhythm going, he will give you scoring and lots of it, and he's given that. I think he has probably, I'm just trying to do some quick math here. I should have done this before, but you said 22, or you said 27, 22, 16, and
yeah, the last
like
three, 22, 15, 27.
What is that, 60 total? 65 points in the last 3 games? Just quick math, yeah, something like that, something like that. So, but yeah, he is. He's a quality rotational player for this team. That's his ceiling, and I think we're seeing that now. But I think we're going to continue seeing that even when Embiid, Harden, and Maxey return. So I think he's been able to obviously get more opportunity because those guys are out, and that's why we're seeing what we're seeing. But speaking to the next man up thing, I think now that season's going, he's healthy, he's good, he's really able to get in that rhythm. And that's another thing for guys too, is they got to find the rhythm. The season's got to keep rolling on. They got to keep going through things and really, I don't know how to describe it, but get themselves kind of rooted in the game and just be as consistent as possible. Like I said, Shake wasn't able to do that last year. He hardly played.
Right.
So he wasn't able to do that, and he couldn't produce at a high level like he's doing now.
Yeah, and he's a guy who, when he's going to have an opportunity, he's becoming a guy, especially, again, small sample size last week, but he's becoming a guy who you can kind of know he's going to get you 20 or 15 or whatever the number, is.
Yep.
When we found out, obviously we knew ahead of time, but on Trust the Love, you posted today, given the circumstances and how many injuries there are, you go, Shake's guaranteed 35 tonight, but you can post something like that in confidence, knowing that he's going to have a productive game. And that's
because
nice
that's
to be able
just
to
the
rely
thing.
on.
Exactly. We can foresee that because we know what he is when he gets that opportunity. When he gets more and more opportunity, he's just more productive. And like I said, I think we're going to continue seeing that as the season goes along, even when Maxey, Harden, and Embiid are fully back. Which, by the way, I saw something somewhere where Glenn said that Embiid might be back in 1 to 2 weeks. Did you see that too?
No, all I've seen is that he was out tonight
Yeah.
against Brooklyn and then out Wednesday against
Maybe
Charlotte.
it was just a red flag or a false alarm. I don't know, but I saw that and that kind of threw me for a loop.
Yeah,
So
2
hopefully
weeks
that's
could
not
mean
true.
2 weeks could mean 6-7 games.
Yeah, so I hope that's not true.
I hope that's not true too. I mean, this is getting difficult, and not only again, Sixers win tonight, and we're confident Sixers are going to make the playoffs. We don't even know what seeding, how that's all going to align it.
Yeah.
We don't, as Sixers fans who've been in the playoffs the last few years, like we don't really care that much about that. But like, there is something to be said for the fact that like this team hasn't played that together that much.
Right. There's the chemistry is still back and forth, and occasionally, well, I guess more so beginning of the season, occasionally non-existent. But I think they kind of fixed that a little bit now.
Right. Yeah. So it's frustrating because of the guys not playing together as much, and again, it was Embiid hurt a few games at the beginning of the season. Harden's been out for a while now. Maxey's now out for 3 to 4 weeks. These Sixers in their feet. Yeah, I mean, Harden's got a foot injury. Maxey's got a foot injury. Embiid's injury is a foot injury. And again, hopefully Harden back soon. I think his recovery seems to be going well, so that's encouraging. Yeah. But these guys aren't on the floor, and they're not going to be on the floor for the rest of this week, maybe.
Weeks, yeah.
So how do you think? Of course, again, Sixers beat the Bucks 110-102. Embiid had a big one. Shake had a big one. We mentioned that. They did drop the game to the Timberwolves. I was not able to catch that one.
Yeah.
But yeah. So sitting at 9-8. What do you want to see? Let's hypothetically, let's say James Harden's out 1 to 2 weeks. Hypothetically, let's say that let's hypothetically say that James Harden's out another week.
Yeah.
Maxey's out 3 to 4 weeks. Let's say there's 5 games where none of those guys are in. What do you want to see?
Well, I'm praying that they go 500 at least. And I haven't looked at their schedule too much, but I would like to think it's going to get easier. I mean, the past 2 weeks, they've had Suns, Bucks, Timberwolves, Hawks twice, and I'm drawing a blank. Nets. So those are some, obviously with varying levels, good teams. Those are some good teams. So I'd like to think their schedule gets easier, and I'm hoping they can stay 500. I'm hoping maybe not even stay 500, but just if they play 6 games, win 3, lose 3 at the very least, maybe a little better than 500. But it's going to be tough. I'm not going to lie. I posted on my page today. I said about the win. I said I want to say this is surprising because it is, but it's also the NBA, and we've seen ridiculous, crazy things happen too. So I don't know. This is uncharted territory, and I don't know. I don't know.
No, I mean, that's a good point though, because crazy things happen in the NBA.
I mean, we've seen some crazy things happen in the NBA.
You win games you're not supposed to. You lose games you're not supposed to. But yeah, I mean, I think my goal, I guess, during this period where you're not full strength is and this might sound silly, but it's as close to what you got tonight is the goal. Are they going to go 16 for 32 every night? No. But like as close as they can to doing what they did tonight. And I get there was a lot of energy in the building. This is a fun game. This is one that, guys that were on the Sixers back when Mr. Simmons was here, like that's a game that they were looking forward to. And rightfully so. And so, but that level of energy, just production, as close as they can get to doing what they did tonight. I'll take that every game year forward. But they do have a fairly favorable schedule considering where they came from, especially considering road games. So at Charlotte tomorrow, and then 2 games in Orlando, the 25th and 27th. So some winnable ball games. We'll see if Joel makes any of that road trip. But we'll see. So I'm actually, believe it or not, you might clown me a little bit, Sixers fans, but I'm near Orlando right now at my parents' place, and Sixers play at Orlando the 25th. I'm flying out of here the 25th, meaning I'm not going to be able to go to the game instead of flying back the 26th. I should have thought about that. I did think about it. Tickets were too expensive, but just kind of funny. Like I'm
the day
I'm
off,
in Florida. I'm near where the Sixers are going to be playing, and I'm not going. Crazy.
That's funny.
Crazy. All right. Anything else on episode 74?
Nothing much. That Timberwolves game was just. I mean, you're down 3 players. No, Embiid played. Did Embiid play?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're down against a good team. I mean, they're a good team. Their record may not show, but I think they're a good team. It's just kind of speaking what we talked about before. Teams win games they're not supposed to, and they lose games they're not supposed to. So you could look at it both ways. You could just look at it. The Sixers were down 2 starters. I don't think Harris played either. So you're down 3 starters. And it's going to be hard to win against a good team without 3 starters.
Right.
Not something you can expect regularly.
Right. Yeah. That's why, tonight's a little special because we can enjoy that one. Because, as much as we want to see that be the reality every night, it's not going to be.
Yeah.
And we know that, and we hope that you Sixers fans understand that as well. But yeah, I'll end with this. So I think it was Van Gundy, and you'll appreciate this. Van Gundy during the game was talking about PJ. Who?
Jeff Van Gundy or Stan Van Gundy?
Stan was on the call tonight.
Jeff Van Gundy's the bald one.
Right. No, this was Stan.
Okay.
So Stan during the game, he's talking about PJ Tucker, and talks about offensively and defensively what he provides, all that stuff. The first thing he said, was about the last 4 games the Sixers have played and his role defensively, which I didn't necessarily notice this. I noticed it while watching, I guess. But so we played the Jazz last week, and one of his matchups was Lauri Markkanen, who he held below his average. All right. Then we played the Bucks. He matched up with Giannis quite a bit, held Giannis below his average. Then we played the Timberwolves. He was matched up with Cat a little bit, held him below his average. And then we played the Nets tonight. Kevin Durant got 20. And Kevin Durant, they said on the broadcast too, that he's had 25 in every game. 25 or more in every game this season.
I think he was a few games away from breaking MJ's streak of 25 plus. Well, PJ Tucker just broke that streak. Where else PJ Tucker you would appreciate that? Bring them to me.
I knew you would appreciate that. Yeah. And then it was funny because after that he mentions, and in those 4 games he's had 0 points. But again, pointing to the production that he can have, the effect he can have on a game without scoring. So I knew you'd appreciate that.
Definitely. Thank you. Yes.
And that's a good stat. That that's going to show some things about what he brings. And so wherever anybody stands on PJ Tucker, you can acknowledge that stat. If you want to talk about stats, acknowledge that one.
Everybody likes
what
stats.
He's doing on defense.
Here's one for you. If you want stats, we got them.
That's right. Now what? We might have to post that clip. Anyway, all right. That's episode 74 of Planet 76. We will see you next time to break down a Sixers road trip on the road, Charlotte, Orlando twice. And we'll be back in a few days to break that down on episode 75. We'll see you next time. Peace. If you are a Philadelphia 76ers fan, this is the podcast for you. Planet 76, a weekly podcast covering all things Philadelphia 76ers. We'll see you next time.